In this video tutorial, I'm going to show you how to transfer your old iPhone to a brand new iPhone. In this case, I'm going from the iPhone 13 to the iPhone 16 Pro. Before I do anything in terms of migrating from my old phone to the new phone, there are a couple of housekeeping items I want to ensure that I observe before moving from one phone to the next. And in my case, I use this phone for authentication. So when I log into Google or I log into my work account through Okta, there's a two-factor authentication method. In my case, I either use Google Authenticator or Okta Verify to ensure that a login attempt really did come from me. And that is tied to the physical phone. So in my case, I want to make sure that I can actually set the new phone up as the new authentication device prior to moving it over. That way I don't have to call IT support and be like, hey, I moved my phone over and now I can't log into my business applications. The second thing I recommend thinking through is how you purchase the new phone. So in my case, I went through my carrier to get the new iPhone, and so my phone number was ported over to the new device kind of in the back end, like magic. In the old days, like if I got a new BlackBerry, for example, I would have to port the phone number on a phone call, like on a landline, call into the carrier and read off the hardware device number to that person so they could do the actual porting in the back end. But now, all I have to do is log into the new phone, and once it connects to the carrier nearby, the phone will just register through whatever carrier you happen to be on and enroll itself, so this just becomes the new device from the carrier standpoint. If you got this, on the secondhand market, or if you bought it from the iPhone store directly and they weren't able to collaborate with your carrier, Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile, Sprint, whatever carrier you happen to be on, there might be a different process for you to move your phone number from one device to the other. In some cases, you might actually have to remove a physical SIM card from the device, the old device, and put it into the side of the new device, because your phone number is tied to that tiny little microchip called a SIM card, and that might be how your carrier prefers that you move the phone, and depending on the hardware, that might be required. Just something to think about, like how are you gonna get your existing phone number to the new phone? And again, in my case, because I went through the carrier, my phone number is already associated with the new hardware, and as soon as I power it on, it's just going to connect to the wireless network, and I'll be up and running. The third thing I would consider before migrating from an old phone to a new phone is my data, right? So you can actually run a backup of your current existing phone, or if you're on iCloud and you have space, you can set your phone up so that it backs up to iCloud. In my case, I do it regularly, so it just automatically always has a backup. That way, if the automatic transfer from one phone to the other doesn't go well, I can always restore all of my settings from a backup to the new phone that's fresh out of the box. It's always good to have that backup on hand prior to migrating. And the fourth thing that you would want to pay attention to is how you'll log into various applications like Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, whatever application you use. Expect that some of those probably aren't going to work the first time you launch them. So it's good to make sure that you have the password documented somewhere. I recommend using a password keeper of some kind. Okta, for the personal world, actually has a way for you to store passwords securely. And I'm not sponsored by Okta or Apple or Google or any manufacturer. This is just my personal devices, and these are my personal preferences, so just want to make that clear. The other thing you can do is use the password application on the phone to store passwords to the various applications you log into, and then enable Face ID so that you're using biometrics to access that information rather than a PIN or a password. The biometrics are going to be way more secure than a password, so whether you're using a fingerprint or you're just using your face through the camera, it's going to be way more secure. So hopefully you're already using those tactics to secure your data. And the fifth thing that I would want to do before migrating from one phone to another is actually open the support articles on the Apple Store, because a lot of the common questions that folks will run into are actually answered in the FAQ section, and then there's like step-by-step guides on how to transfer from one phone to another and all of the things you might want to consider before doing that. Apple actually has a really great resource on how to go about these steps. I'm going to show it to you on the channel here, but that's definitely something you'll want to open up and have saved on hand before you go through this process. Lastly, one of the most important things you'll want to do is ensure that you're close to a laptop or a computer that has your iCloud information up and running so that I can ensure that, yeah, that's really a login attempt from me to introduce a new piece of hardware into my Apple iCloud portfolio. Let's go ahead and get started, and we'll move from an old iPhone to a new iPhone. And again, these are my personal devices. This is not sponsored in any way. It's just something I wanted to share with you. Before I open the device in the box, there's 2 tabs on the back that you'll want to peel off. Then you just flip the box over and keep one hand under the lid as you remove it so that it doesn't fall and hit the ground and roll onto like a hard surface, which actually happened to this poor kid. His phone hit the concrete on live TV. So very unfortunate, and I hope he's recovered emotionally from that experience, but it stuck with me. And now I always keep my hand under the box when I take the lid out so that my own iPhone doesn't fall out onto the floor. This cover is actually interesting because it tells you what the buttons are. Like I can see here is the ringtone, and then I've got volume buttons on this side. And over here, I've got a quick camera button, and then this would be the power button. And of course, on the back of the phone, I've got the amazing new camera lenses here. So I want to be sure to protect that, a very important part of the phone. To get started, down here, you can peel the tab away and you just rip it away like so. On the existing iPhone, the first thing I want to do is go into settings, and from there I'm going to transfer from this device to another device. And there's a setting in here that you can go to do that. If you go into settings and you scroll down to general, scroll down again from here, and you'll click transfer or reset iPhone. So I'm going to click that, and I'm going to read the message here. It says, prepare for new iPhone. Make sure everything's ready to transfer to a new iPhone, even if you don't currently have enough iCloud storage to back up. If you want to run a backup manually, you can go into your account and scroll down to the device on your account. I feel pretty confident in being ready to migrate this phone to the new phone, so I'll go back to General, scroll down to the bottom, click Transfer or Reset iPhone, and then click Get Started. So it says prepare for new iPhone. Make sure everything's ready when your new iPhone arrives. Get data to move your apps and data. Check in trade status. Let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to move all app data with iCloud. You'll be ready for your new iPhone. That's it for now. Your new phone is using iCloud to secure all data. Upload apps to iCloud. Use this phone to quickly sign in, trade in, or recycle your phone. So now I'm going to turn my new phone on by pressing the power button on the side. It's the first time this phone is ever turned on, and you can see the hello message right there. We'll go ahead and swipe up to get started. So just swipe up and select your language. In my case, I'm going to select English, and I am in the United States, and then it brings me to the appearance button. I'm going to stay with the default and just hit continue there. So now that it says looking for nearby devices, I'm actually going to put the top of the 2 phones next to one another. And you can see on my old phone that it says set up new iPhone. I'm going to hit continue and use my Face ID to validate that it's me. And so now I'm going to position the iPhone so it can see that space information. So I'm going to use my iCloud account and just click set up for me. And then I get prompted to type a password in, which I'll do. And then now it goes through the transfer for me. So it's setting up the new phone and transferring from my old phone to the new one. So it says on my new phone that it will take a few minutes to set things up. So I'm just going to sit here and wait patiently, and then I'll fast forward the video so you don't have to sit here with me. Okay, now I'm entering a special code that was sent to me via text from the carrier. So I'm going to enter that in and then hit continue. And now it's saying that it'll take a few minutes to activate my new phone. All right, and now it's activating the eSIM on the new phone. And that's that process I was talking about earlier where I don't have to call support and have them go through the porting process for me to transfer my old phone number to the new device. So I'm just going to wait for this to go through. All right, so now the phone is set up with the new phone number, and I'll go through the steps. If you want to read the data and privacy notice, you can click Learn More. If you've never actually clicked Learn More to read through that, it's pretty interesting to see more about the language of the kind of data the company collects. So I encourage you to read it. I've actually read it myself, so I'm going to hit Continue. I feel pretty comfortable with that. And then it'll go to the next step in the setup here. Let's see what the next window says. All right, so now I'm going to enable Face ID on the new phone. So let's go ahead and do that. And I'm going to wear my glasses when I do this. So I'm going to position my face in frame and move my head around. It's asking me now if I want to use a mask to set up my Face ID, which I haven't been wearing for a long time, so I want to just keep it simple in my case. So now that Face ID is set up, I just hit Continue. And now I am over to the transfer data window. In my case, I'm going to use download from iCloud. I already backed up my old phone to iCloud, so I'm actually going to download from iCloud, and that's going to take a while, of course. It's a lot of data. And once again, I'll agree to the terms and conditions. You can scroll through this and read that. I highly encourage you to inform yourself about all these terms and conditions before agreeing to them. You should just be in the practice of that. I need to be better about that myself. Sometimes I fly through the steps and I don't just stop and read what's on the screen. And I find that once I do that, it actually creates some calm for me because I feel more informed as I go through steps like this. So I'm going to hit agree. And now I'm being signed into iCloud. Do I want to make this my new iPhone? I do, actually. So here you can see all the different applications like apps and data, setting, my wallet, which is how I purchase things. And I'll go ahead and hit continue. I'll turn location services on because I use that for several applications. So now the phone's walking me through the new buttons on the phone. And that's pretty cool. I can customize these by hitting customize. I can press and hold the action button to turn silent mode on and off. I can also customize the action button for the camera to use a flashlight or access a favorite iPhone feature. So very cool. You can actually scroll through the settings and choose what you want to have happen. So like if I press the button, I can record a voice memo, which is actually pretty cool. And I'm going to leave that as my default setting right now. So when I press the action button, I'll be able to record a voice memo, which I use all the time to record song ideas. So I'll hit continue to accept that as my new default. Apple Intelligence. Okay, this is the whole reason I got the iPhone 16 Pro, because I'm actually very excited about writing summarization. It's the start of a new era for Siri, so I'm very curious to learn more about how I can leverage the Apple Intelligence features to get the most out of Siri. And built for privacy, that's something that's really important to me as we get further into the AI world that we now live in. It's accessible by everybody, and there's a ton of consumer products from ChatGPT to Claude to my favorite, Tokan, which is an amazing app that works on Slack and also has a web browser version. And I actually have a Udemy course on how to get the most out of Tokan. It's free, so you can enroll today and learn more about that. Anyway, I'm very passionate about learning more about AI. And part of that is because I resisted it for a long time. There's a whole lot of things to consider, from environmental issues to what does this mean for art and culture and writing. And I was definitely on the AI laggard side of the house for a long time, but I'm an IT person. I need to know these things and help others make informed decisions about how they want to go about using these various applications. So the more I know, the more I can help people. That's part of why I'm so invested now in learning the most I can around generative AI and the different models that are out there. So again, the whole reason to go to the iPhone 16 Pro has a lot to do with the Apple Intelligence features that I now have access to using this device. So I'm going to continue and accept that. So I can do summary notifications now, which might appeal to you. So Apple Intelligence can summarize notifications making them more succinct and easy to read. So if you get a lot of long texts and you're like, just send me what I need to know. If you've ever had that experience, this feature is for you. So I can choose now what kind of communications I want to have the phone summarize. I can do news and entertainment, communication and social, all other apps. So let's do communication and social. So that's messages, FaceTime, iPhone. All right. Summarize selected notifications. All right. Now I'm in the camera control option, and I'm going to hit continue to learn more about that. I now have access to visual intelligence using the camera. I'm really going to dive into a whole exploration process around how to use AI features to get the most out of the camera, because I'm super curious about that. So I'll hit continue, and now it's asking me for speaking to Siri. I can just press and hold the button on the side panel. Looking at the phone screen, it would be on my right. So that's very cool. Or it says I can say Siri or hey Siri, or hold the side button to talk to Siri. So I have 3 options to get to Siri, which is very cool. All right, I can type to Siri now. So I can double tap the bottom edge of the screen and type my request for Siri now. Very cool. Let's go ahead and continue. Siri, how's the weather? Siri, play some music. Siri is now ready. So Siri recognizes my voice now. The AI is going to analyze the way my voice sounds. So when I talk to Siri, it uses those prompts to validate that it's me speaking. I can go ahead and hit continue now. Emergency SOS. Yeah, that's an important one. iPhone is ready to help in an emergency. So in this case, I can press and hold to make an emergency call. Reading the instructions here, I press the side button and then either volume button on the side here to make an emergency call. So 911 in the United States, for example. So I would hold that button down and then press either volume button to make an emergency call, which I could do it in my pocket if there was a situation where I needed to make an emergency call and I don't want to pull my phone out. I can just remember that keystroke sequence and then use the phone to make an emergency call. Crash detection, so iPhone detects a severe crash, it will automatically try to call emergency services. Pretty wild. Curious to know how it detects the crash. Maybe it's something like if I'm going at a certain speed and then stop all of a sudden, maybe the phone is able to detect that. I'm not sure exactly how that works, but curious to know more. All right, in select countries, emergency SOS via satellite. So if you're in a remote place where there aren't cell towers readily available, maybe you have a satellite connection, and it's saying that might work depending on where you're at. So depending on what country you live in, maybe that's something that you check out. So I'll hit continue to go through the next step in the process. First thing is a software update, and I'm definitely going to apply that because software updates are crucial for bug fixes, security patches, all of that good stuff. And I always try to stay up on top of that, especially as security vulnerabilities become more of a thing in the world. All right, so I'll hit update now. There's about 30 seconds left on my software update, so I'll be back soon. All right, so now the phone is verifying the update, and I'm assuming it just rebooted. Once the screen comes back, I'll go through the setup process. This is why I was saying earlier on to make sure that you have time set aside for this, because, you know, moving from one phone to another, especially if you have a lot of data like I do, photos, videos of my dog mostly. This stuff takes a while, and because there was an update required, it's adding additional time to the setup. So you can see now that the progress bar has really just begun. So I anticipate this will take another couple of minutes, 10 to 20 minutes perhaps. Depends on how complex the update was. Incremental updates take less time than major upgrades, depending on what version of iOS shipped with this phone. This could be a major version released, you know, just depending on how much time has gone by since the last release was applied to the phone. That can have something to do with the amount of time it takes for the system update to complete. With all the new Apple Intelligence features that are coming out, I suspect that there will be even more incremental updates. I'm gonna make sure that when the phone comes back on and I can get into settings, that I have automatic updates enabled, because I always wanna stay up on security updates, bug fixes. Bug fixes are like weird behavior on the phone. Let's say you upgrade from iOS version 17 to 18, and then all of a sudden your alerts stop working or something like that. That could either be a new feature was introduced, all of a sudden your alerts aren't working because you have Do Not Disturb turned on or something. And you might not know that, but the phone has Do Not Disturb turned on, and you have to go in and like manually elect to be notified for a particular application. So that kind of stuff can happen. And maybe the software update is actually the culprit, in which case you'll want to keep up on future releases that hopefully address that issue if a lot of other users are experiencing it. So that's one of the benefits of upgrading for that bug fix. The security updates are great too, which is something I personally care about. I also care about the user experience and the operability of the device. So just gonna let this run, and I'll see you in a couple minutes. Now my phone is back and it's saying hello once again. I'll go ahead and swipe up to get started. It wants me to enter my password to enable Face ID because the phone just rebooted. So I'll go ahead and enter that now and unlock it. So now the phone is restoring from iCloud, and this again will take several minutes to go through. Once that's complete, my phone should look and feel the same as my old phone did, which is pretty cool. So I'm just gonna let that run, and then we'll touch base here again in a second. Okay, so now that the new phone is all set up, the next thing I'll wanna do is log into my old phone and make sure that I erase all settings and data prior to sending it back to the store. Because in my case, I'm upgrading from an old phone to a new phone. And part of the deal is that I send them my current device that doesn't have a cracked screen or anything like that. If I just reset the settings, it basically puts the phone back into its default state, but it doesn't remove my personal data. So like log files and, passwords that were saved, pictures and text messages and all that stuff. So what you'll want to do is actually erase all the data, putting this old device back into factory settings essentially before you send it back to the carrier. They want you to do that as much as you'll want to do that for yourself. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit that alert button if you want to be notified when new content comes out. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. I couldn't do this without you, so thank you. Take care.